My name is Emily Carter, and I live in Denver, Colorado. I never imagined that one conversation with my husband, Daniel Carter, would change the course of our marriage forever. From the outside, we looked like the perfect couple, young, healthy, financially stable, with a nice house and steady jobs. But behind closed doors, our relationship had been suffering for a long time, and one decision I made in frustration set everything into motion. It all began about 3 years into our marriage. At first, Daniel was the most devoted man anyone could ask for. He adored me, always went out of his way to please me, and rarely ever disagreed with me. Some of my friends even called him a simp because he would drop everything just to make sure I was happy. At the time, I thought it was sweet and romantic. But slowly, I began to realize that something was missing. His constant yes to everything made me feel like I was in control of the relationship in a way that didn't feel balanced. I wanted a husband who could stand beside me, not behind me. Someone who had his own opinions, who could challenge me when I was wrong, and who could lead sometimes instead of waiting for me to make every decision. Instead, Daniel often avoided confrontation at all costs, and that started to frustrate me. Whenever I suggested something, whether it was about finances, vacation plans, or even household chores, he would just nod and say, "Whatever you want, Emily." At first, it seemed harmless. But after a while, his lack of initiative made me resentful. I felt like I was carrying all the weight in the marriage. I was making every plan, every decision, every move. And one evening, when I was particularly frustrated after a long day at work, I blurted out something that I regret to this day. We were sitting at the dinner table, eating in silence, when I slammed my fork down and said, "Daniel, you're going to start doing what I say in this marriage. If you can't, then don't expect any closeness or affection from me." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. I didn't mean them literally, but I was angry, tired, and wanted to shock him into realizing how serious I was about my feelings. I thought he would apologize, maybe promise to be more assertive, maybe even argue with me. But instead, Daniel just stared at me for a long moment, his face unreadable, and then he said quietly, "If that's how you feel, then maybe this marriage isn't working anymore." I was stunned. Daniel had never spoken back to me like that. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but he wasn't joking. For the first time, he didn't nod or agree. He stood up, cleared his plate, and walked away without another word. That night, he didn't sleep in our bed. He took a blanket and lay down on the couch. I thought it was just him cooling off, but the next day, he packed a small bag and told me he was going to stay with his brother for a while. At first, I assumed he would be back in a day or two. But days turned into weeks. Daniel didn't call me except for short, practical conversations about bills or the mortgage. He stopped doing little things for me, like bringing me coffee in the morning or leaving notes on the fridge. I began to realize that I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. By trying to control him, I had pushed him so far that he finally decided to reclaim his independence, even if that meant leaving me behind. Meanwhile, my friends who once teased him for being a simp were now telling me that maybe I had been too harsh. They reminded me that not everyone expresses love through dominance or arguments. Some people express love through service, loyalty, and sacrifice. Daniel had been showing me love in his own way, and I had mistaken it for weakness. I tried reaching out to him, writing long messages explaining that I didn't mean what I said, that I just wanted more balance in our relationship. I admitted that I was wrong to threaten him, and that I missed him terribly. He read the messages, but his replies were short and distant. Finally, after about 2 months, he came back to the house, but not to stay. He came with papers. Divorce papers. When I saw them, my knees nearly gave out. "Daniel, please," I begged. "We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll listen. I'll do better." But Daniel's face was calm, steady, and heartbreakingly cold. "Emily," he said, "I've spent years giving you everything you asked for, and it was never enough. I thought I was showing love by supporting you, but you made me realize you never respected me for it. You wanted control, and I gave it to you, but now I want my freedom back." I cried. I pleaded. I told him I loved him. And I did. I realized too late how much I had taken him for granted. But Daniel didn't budge. The divorce process was quiet and painful. Friends and family were shocked, but no one really knew the details. I never told them what I had said that night. I was too ashamed. Daniel moved out, found his own place, and started focusing on himself. Last I heard, he was doing well, working out, picking up hobbies he had abandoned, and spending more time with friends. As for me, I stayed in the house for a while, but every corner of it reminded me of him. The coffee mugs he used, the chair he always sat in, the quiet way he used to hum while fixing things around the house. I missed it all. Looking back, I realized the lesson I had to learn the hard way. Respect in a marriage is more important than control. A relationship is not about power, it's about partnership. I thought by demanding strength from Daniel, I could make him into the man I wanted. Instead, I broke the man who loved me most. Now, I tell my story not to paint myself as the victim, but to admit my mistake. Sometimes, we don't realize the value of what we have until we've lost it forever. And sometimes, the damage we cause with a single sentence can unravel years of love and devotion. Daniel may have been called a simp by others, but to me, he was the most loyal and caring man I ever had in my life. And by failing to appreciate that, I lost him. If I could go back in time, I would take back those words at the dinner table. I would choose kindness over frustration and patience over control. But life doesn't give us rewinds. It only gives us lessons. And this one is a lesson I will carry with me for the rest of my life.